To start our first session, I'd like to welcome Jay Thomas, the Executive Director of the Vinyl Sustainability Council and the Vice President of Sustainability at the Vinyl Institute, who will moderate this session. Jay is an outstanding leader and a recognized expert on sustainability. We're very lucky Jay is leading the vinyl industry sustainability programs, and we have all seen remarkable progress under his strategic leadership. Jay?
Great, thank you, Ned. We're very excited to have two of our industry leaders with us here today for this session, Kate Offringa and Bruce Hollands, to discuss current and future trends in their product sectors. I know there's a lot of great programming going on in their organizations, so I'm really excited to hear all about it. We'll start the presentations with Kate. Kate is President and CEO of the Vinyl Siding Institute. Located in Alexandria, Virginia, the VSI is the trade association for manufacturers of vinyl and other polymeric siding and suppliers to the industry. Kate is a certified association executive with over 20 years experience in Washington. She previously served as president of Tallwood Strategies, LLC, as president and CEO of North American Insulation Manufacturers Association, and as director of market transformation for the Alliance to Save Energy. Kate, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Ned. Hello, everybody. It's so nice to be with you here virtually today. And I've known many of you for a long time, and I'm really looking forward to the day, hopefully sometime soon next year, when we can be together in person again. Thank you for inviting me. As Jay mentioned, the Vinyl Siding Institute is the trade association for manufacturers of vinyl siding and for suppliers to our industry. And the resin producers in this meeting today and many of the other companies are supplier members of the Vinyl Siding Institute, and we very much appreciate your support. Next slide, Jen. So I've been asked to take a few minutes to talk about what happened in the vinyl siding industry this year, and what's next, and what the Vinyl Siding Institute is doing to promote growth in our industry. Next slide. What a year, right? So many unexpected things in rapid succession. It's honestly hard to keep up. A pandemic that shut down our businesses and our schools and our offices, social unrest, political discord, and uncertainties and ups and downs in markets. Next slide. The Vinyl Siding Institute tracks shipments from our manufacturer member companies monthly and has for years. And if you're a member of the Vinyl Siding Institute, you either do or can receive this monthly report from me. So looking back at our numbers for this year, we started off the year really strong. January of this year saw 7% growth in our industry over last year. February and March were strong. And then April was down 22% from April last year. And of course, that was a direct result of the pandemic shutdowns. We started to get ready for a long haul and, perhaps a very extended downturn. Everybody on the call knows how much uncertainty there was in business making decisions at the time, because nobody knew how long this would last or what it would do to our different markets. But we already began to see recovery in our market in May and June. And by September of this year, we were back up to 8% growth over September last year. So it's been a lot of ups and downs for us, but the down didn't last very long. And in fact, our manufacturers are struggling to meet demand with 12-week lead times in a lot of cases on product delivery. Again, if you are a member of VSI and you don't get this monthly report, I hope you'll reach out to me so that we can put you on the list. Our October numbers are coming out today, actually. So we'll have updates even from the number that you see there. Next slide, Jen. So what's next? I hope that if you are a member that you joined us for our conference in September, where we had Elliot Eisenberg, our favorite bow tie economist, who used to be chief economist for NHB. He spoke at our conference, And also, if you're on our mailing list, you've been receiving our industry insights from our strategic communications partner, Bill Rossiter at Interrupt. Next slide. Those insights and presentations combined with conversations that I have regularly with our board members and our market numbers show that our industry is anticipating a decade of growth. Manufacturer optimism is really high. New home building is strong. Builder confidence is high. If you saw the LinkedIn post from Robert Dietz, the chief economist at NAHB this morning, you saw that new home starts are at an all-time high, and especially in the Midwest, which is a really strong market for vinyl siding. Remodeling is up, DIY is up. I mean, think about it. People are stuck at home and they're noticing those projects that they've been meaning to get to forever. Now they've been stuck at home all summer, working remotely, and they're getting around to those projects, or they feel like, well, I'm home so I can be working and have a contractor come by and you know, give me a quote, get to work on a project. They also have extra money on hand. Those of us who are fortunate to still have good jobs. I don't want to be not mindful of the many people who've lost their jobs in this pandemic. But for those who are working from home, they have the time to manage remodeling projects. They have potentially extra money on their hands because their vacations were canceled, their kids' summer camps were canceled. And I think there's been something of a nesting instinct that has hit folks. You know, during a pandemic, I think it's natural to think about home and the security of home and wanting to invest in your home. So all of those things have combined to result in strong growth for our industry, even during this pandemic. Millennial buying power is kicking in, and it's combined with a trend that NAHB has already identified of folks wanting to leave cities and relocate to suburbs and even exurbs in some cases. The pandemic is shifting preferences away from cities and towards single-family homes, more space, considered safer in a pandemic, but also with folks working remotely, they want that extra space. And there's a lot of talk, I'm sure you've heard, about the workforce of the future and the future of the corporate office, and perhaps at least some amount of remote work being a permanent change moving into the future, and that also affects people's housing choices. So things are looking good. Again, manufacturer optimism is high, and manufacturers and distributors who were polled recently believe that production will stay strong with no winter slowdown. Next slide, please. So what is the Vinyl Siding Institute doing to capitalize on this moment and to promote growth moving into this decade, the 2020s, that we think will be a decade of growth for our part of the vinyl industry? Next slide. If you know us and are involved in our programs and conferences, you've heard that our state legislative initiatives have been bearing fruit the last couple of years. We launched our state legislative advocacy program maybe 5 years ago, I think, with success in North Carolina, and we've been using that model legislation to build on that success and open markets in other states. That bill, where you see the green states, we've successfully passed legislation. Blue states in progress is where we're active right now. The bill that we're turning into law, state by state, outlaws local product bans. For example, you know, in Texas, until our success in 2019, there were 200 some odd localities that had banned vinyl siding. And we opened that market late 2019 with successful passage of that legislation. And in 2020, we were active in all the blue states plus Oklahoma there. Oklahoma did pass the law in 2020. Their legislature reconvened after an initial shutdown, and we were successful with that bill this year. But all the other states that we were active in this year, their legislatures did not reopen or take up that legislation again. So we are looking forward to working with them in 2021 and getting those bills moving again to open markets for our products. Next slide, please. We are also seeing that our outreach to architects is bearing fruit. For years, we've been working with the Congress for New Urbanism, which is a group of very influential high-end architects who design neighborhoods and communities, walkable neighborhoods, traditional neighborhood design. We started a program with them a number of years ago where we reached out and basically asked, why don't you like us? And we had a number of roundtables and plant visits where we brought the architects to meet with all of our individual manufacturer members and just really talk about what they needed from an architectural perspective from our products and help them understand the products better. And they gave design advice and a wish list, and our industry and theirs got to know each other better. And this program has really blossomed since we started it a few years ago. Earlier this year, in what was the last business trip that I took in 2020, we launched a book at the International Builders Show in Las Vegas, Architectural Design for Traditional Neighborhoods, that we co-authored with a pair of influential architects from that movement. We have a product array box, which is a sample box essentially that we send out to architects on request so that they can get to know in a hands-on way our products. We have a new design spec guide that's coming, that is the next item in this program to help architects understand and use and spec our industry's products. And we have webinars that can give architects continuing education credits through the American Institute of Architects. We were doing a lot of in-person educational sessions before the pandemic, but with both this program and our installer training and certification program, we pivoted to online learning very quickly at the beginning of the pandemic and are now working to build those programs out even further online. And lastly, on this one, we've begun an American Institute of Architects chapter newsletter campaign where we are pitching stories to chapter newsletters. We're starting in Texas, where we want to tell the story about newly opened markets for our products there, and also help architects understand what resources we have available to them so that they will know that they can use our products and then how to use our products and how to learn more about them. Next slide. We have a new project coming up in the new year to help capitalize on the growth opportunity with the buying power of millennials kicking in. There's been research done in the past, but we want to get some updated research done on what millennials are looking for, how to market home improvement products to millennials, and to leverage vinyl siding features that appeal to the millennial audience. So, you know, we are not the size association that can have a Got Milk campaign or a giant PR campaign ourselves, but what we can do for our members here is have the members collectively fund this kind of research through the association and then share the results with the members and the insights so that it will inform their own marketing campaigns. So that's a new thing coming up in the new year. Next slide, please. Another big area of focus for us right now is sustainability and resilience. Sustainability has been a long-standing area of focus at VSI. We completed industry LCA, environmental product declarations, years ago. It's always been an area of focus, but we're amping up the focus in this area right now and moving forward. The board in September just decided to upgrade our sustainability working group to a full standing committee with its own budget and membership and focus. And we've been working to update and upgrade our sustainability web content as well with a renewed focus on recycling. If you follow our blog, which I hope you do or will now that you know about it, you'll see that recycling program case studies are being published as a series of blog posts this year. We're highlighting our member company programs around recycling. And our newly formed full committee is also looking at the possibility of doing a recycling pilot program, which is in the research phase. Next slide, please. And focusing on resilience, which I know has been a theme for you in the Vinyl360 conference this year, is also a focus for us. We over the last few years, have done direct in the field research following major hurricanes in the United States, and have sent a team out. I think we've done 4 of them now. Have sent teams out to survey damage, take photographs, conduct assessments of, what's gone wrong, where we do see failures, and also take photographs where we don't see failures, and kind of do our own primary research on what's happening with our products in hurricane afflicted areas. And the results are very encouraging. We have reports, some internal reports and some other reports for external audiences that we're using with the insurance industry and code setting bodies to help them understand that when our products are properly spec'd and properly installed, they perform very well. And so that's adding to our sustainability and resilience story. And if that's something that you're particularly interested in, you can reach out to me, and I'll connect you with Matt Dobson on our team, who can give you more information about that. And Matt, by the way, sits on the resilience working group at the NAHB, so we're very involved there. A couple of, one more project, next slide, I want to tell you about, and then I'll wrap it up, because I know you want to hear from Bruce. A big area of focus for us since our last strategic planning session in 2017 has been workforce development. Our board identified the labor shortage as one of their biggest impediments to future growth at that time, and we created a committee, pulled together a budget, added a staff position, and really launched a program. We had been training and certifying installers in our industry for quite some time, but we launched a big program to pull new labor, new workforce into this market. So we are running 2 programs now, one certification for experienced installers, and the new one for trainees. We started 2020, like we did last year, with in-person trainings and job fairs, where after the half day of training, trainees could meet with companies who are ready to hire. And we moved everything online in early COVID, as you can imagine. But we continue to partner with tech schools, and also work with large distributors and installation companies to help them with their recruitment and training. We're forming local advisory boards in some places to keep the program going beyond what we're able to do. We're 8 people, so we can't be on the ground running programs everywhere, but we can get them started and then form these local advisory boards with tech schools and others and distributors in the area to keep them going. And we recently completed an update of our installation manual, our training video, and our web content. The first 2 are available in Spanish now. We haven't yet translated the whole website. I'm not sure about that. Next slide, please. In the coming year, we are going to be moving into a new strategic planning session. That was on the docket for 2020, but we decided to put that off for a year when 2020 got as crazy as it did. We're going to be focusing on growth for our industry through multiplication of our efforts. Not so much I don't anticipate much of a shift of focus or effort, but more of a deep dive on how can we do more of what we're doing. And more of opening markets through our legislative program, more of changing hearts and minds through our architect program and communications for home buyers, more of growing our workforce, and more of tackling challenges ahead, like in the area of sustainability. So stay tuned there, and if you are a member of VSI, I hope you'll engage with us on this issue. And my last slide just says thank you. That's a picture of our blog series on our website. I hope you'll tune in there, sign up for our newsletter, sign into our advocacy database so that you can engage with us if we're active in your state. And I hope to see you next year, both at VI conferences and at VSI conferences, which I hope can be in person. Thank you, everyone. Back to you, Jay. I know we're doing Q&A later.
Excellent. Thank you, Kate. Really interesting to hear about all the work you're doing. I was especially interested to hear about your research with millennials and how you're going to help your members message effectively to them. So I think that's certainly something that we all need to be thinking about. So now I would like to introduce Bruce Hollands as our next speaker. Bruce is Executive Director of the PVC Pipe Association, a nonprofit organization located in Irving, Texas, representing North American manufacturers of sustainable corrosion-proof pipe, PVC pipe for water, sewer, and irrigation infrastructure. He's the primary liaison with all levels of government and regulatory agencies and is responsible for developing public policy, technical standards, and establishing the association's strategic direction. Bruce is a government relations, public affairs, and business development specialist and has worked on behalf of industry, government, and the not-for-profit sector. Bruce, the floor is all yours.
Okay. I can't start the video.
We can hear you, Bruce, so you can proceed without that. Oh, we can see you now.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, I was waiting for the, okay. Current and future trends for PVC pipe. I know that everybody has a lot to say about COVID because that's what we're living. So luckily, I think there's a lot of good news for us. Next slide, please. Okay, we just haven't had a lot of significant COVID impacts in our sector. Of course, we have travel restrictions. We used to travel a lot. Our engineers were always presenting with utilities and consulting engineering firms to go over the benefits of PVC pipe. And of course, because of the restrictions, we've had to develop and be more aggressive with our online tools to assist engineers in the utility sector design projects with PVC pipe. And we've been very successful at that. We're putting on extra webinars. We've managed to undertake a number of virtual meetings. At first, it was a little, the sector was a little slow with taking us on with respect to the virtual meetings. But now that they're getting used to the fact that we probably won't be meeting in person for a while, virtual meetings are even picking up more than at the beginning of COVID. Pipe installation volumes are greater than prior years, and manufacturers are running at capacity. There are two examples there in the on the slide: the external load design calculator and the internal pressure design calculator. Both of these tools have enabled our users to more easily design our pipe into projects. So those are two examples of things that we've sent out into the sector this year, and you'll find them on the home page of our website. Next, please. The economic outlook remains good. We feel that there's great bipartisan support for infrastructure funding, and the water and sewer markets are expected to experience continued growth. The housing market remains strong, and utilities are rehabilitating and replacing old pipes, and those projects remain strong. The other thing that's interesting, and this is of interest to our resin producing members, PVC pipe sales in larger sizes, 30 to 60 inch, continue to increase in the marketplace. And so that's very exciting as well. We started making 60 inch about 5 years ago, and now, of course, more and more utilities are specifying and using it in their projects. Next, please. So resiliency is an important trend in the pipe industry. But of course, when you have trends like that, you have competitors that try to characterize your product in the wrong way. And so with the increase in wildfires in western the United States, the resiliency of buried infrastructure has become a concern. And so there were a number of articles written suggesting that PVC was responsible for benzene contamination. It took us about 6 months to produce the one-page document that you see there on the slide, because we had to go through extensive research to demonstrate that benzene contamination came, in fact, from forest fires themselves and the destruction of above-ground infrastructures. And we had to communicate with the utilities that were affected, the communities that had these raging fires go through them. And they confirmed that PVC pipe, in fact, was not affected. It's buried underground. The fires are fast moving. And really the way that the benzene's entering the systems is through the service lines, the pipes connecting the water mains to the structures, homes, buildings, and backflow, when they were trying to put the fires out, drew in the contamination into the water system. So we developed a tech brief to address this and inform the utility sector that, in fact, PVC was not involved in any of these benzene contamination events. But that was just, as an example, latest, document we had to produce to protect our industry from misinformation from our competitors. Next slide, please. The other thing, a couple of other areas in resiliency are seismic. We're developing a new manual of practice with the American Society of Civil Engineers to show that PVC pipe is resilient in earthquake events. And we've got a lot of data on that. Our competitors are trying to suggest that their materials are better, and we're going to, keep the argument straight that ours are very, in fact, more resilient than theirs. Same thing with hurricanes. Hurricanes impact water systems. Hurricanes have shown that the systems involved on the coastal areas, in the coastal areas of the United States, have shown that there's been no contamination. Main breaks, flotation issues found with any PVC pipe. What I mean by flotation is when it's buried, even a concrete pipe can float back up, or iron pipe. All pipes need to be properly buried to prevent those issues. And they suggest that because PVC is plastic that we have those problems, but these events have shown that there have been no issues along those lines either from hurricanes. Next, please. So sustainability is a big issue. Water utilities, however, have been slow to embrace this as a performance indicator. Nevertheless, we believe the trend line is heading that way, and more utilities will find this as an important thing for their communities. And as it turns out, the work that we've done over the last 5 years, we're a leader in sustainability in the pipe sector. We've got an environmental product declaration that we're currently renewing. The last one was produced in May 2015, and basically it shows that PVC pipe is the most sustainable pipe material on the market, has the lowest environmental impacts both in production, use, manufacturing, as well as resin production. So as well, I think a really key message that the renewed EPD is going to show is that our material has the lowest CO2 emissions, both in manufacturing, installation, and use. And we're going to be really promoting that because we feel that that's a trend that's going to become more important with time. And, everybody can do an EPD or an LCA. And those are some documents to the right that relate, you can see that on the slide, that relate to the sustainability issue. We've produced a lot of them, and we've done it, though, with a methodology that's the most rigorous in the industry under the auspices of the International Standards Organization and as well NSF certification. So we undertook the LCA and EPD and then got the EPD certified by NSF International, which certifies all materials that come in contact with water systems. Can you move the slide a little lower? Because I think, well, maybe that's where it cuts off. And new for 2020, we put out a document called Assessing the Transparency and Reliability of Environmental Product Declarations. And what that document does is it helps customers understand how to evaluate PVC and other materials and compare them in an honest way. And through the ISO and NSF, these are the most rigorous methodologies available. And all the other materials have not copied us with that because they're unable to. Their materials are not as sustainable. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'll delve in a little bit into the 2015 EPD, and it really helped our industry because it helped to show that our materials are resistant to chemicals generally found in water and sewer systems. Our materials prevent any leaching or releases to the ground and surface water during the use of piping systems. And really importantly, no known chemicals are released internally into the water system with PVC pipe, and no known toxicity effects occur in the use of the product. And this is certified by NSF International, which is the foremost global health organization for certifying materials coming into contact with water systems. So, we're really excited about this document, and again, we're building on it with the renewal of the EPD in 2021. Okay, next slide, please. Publications. One key one that we came up with in the last year is the Contractor's Guide for Installation of Gasketed PVC Pipe. It's for use not just by contractors, utilities, consulting engineers, inspectors, developers. Why? Because we decided to produce this document because 95% of problems come from improper installation. And that's really quite the incredible statistic, but it's true. And this document is being distributed now throughout the country to organizations which certify contractors to install our materials. And now they're going to have this reference book to use for their tests as well. So they're going to have to read the books, and they have to answer questions afterwards on what's in that book. And then these people are now going to be in the field throughout the country. So it's really going to assist in improving installation for our materials. And we believe increase the use of our materials, because when you don't have installation problems, your materials, your products last longer and they're easier to work with, and people want to use them more. The other thing that we're doing, we're taking the time this year to update our handbook of PVC pipe design and construction. That's sort of what we call the Bible in the industry. It's the large engineering document. You can see it on the bottom right. That's the 5th edition. The 6th edition is going to incorporate additions and changes and updates over the last 7 years since we published that one. The other thing I talked about, online calculators. We're going to also be issuing shortly a cyclic pressure design calculator and a corrosion index calculator that will help, again, specify PVC pipe. Next slide, please. Post-COVID. We believe that the municipal sector will face financial constraints. Many of them have been impacted by lower tax revenues, and these affect as well. Utilities have had lower revenues too in some cases. But really, there's a flip side to that. Cost-effective PVC pipe, we believe, use thereof will accelerate as we replace legacy materials. Legacy materials are more expensive than PVC pipes. So as municipal governments are facing financial constraints, they're going to look at cost-effective solutions. And this occurred after the Great Recession, and we believe it's going to occur again. And we're already seeing signs of that in the marketplace. We also are very, I'm not 100% certain, but I'm quite confident that there will be a federal stimulus that will include underground infrastructure in 2021 or 2022. Next slide, please. And that's it. I think it's time for questions, and I will leave it up to Jay.
Excellent. Thank you, Bruce. It's always, I think, interesting to hear the extremely strong performance and sustainability attributes of PVC, especially compared to the alternatives. And it really is a no-brainer to be using it for our infrastructure needs. So I think one of the things that you both share between you and your markets is state and local regulations or ordinances against the use of vinyl. So I know that you're both working at the federal and state levels to open markets, but what are the strategies that you have found to be most effective in changing these rules? And is there more that we can do? So Kate, if I could throw that question to you first.
Thanks, Jay. Great question. We've been successful. We've done a couple of things that I think have made a big difference. One, we've been partnering with the state home builders associations in our lobbying efforts. They, of course, have a lot of boots on the ground in every state, so they make an excellent local partner. Two, we have had member companies, both manufacturers and supplier member companies like those on the phone, testify, write letters, and engage in the advocacy effort in each state. Where if you have a plant in a state or even a corporate presence, offices in a state, it makes a big difference to be a local constituent and get your point across. So it makes a big difference when we can rely on a vast network of boots on the ground, both from builder partners and from member companies in manufacturing and suppliers like you on the phone. So please be part of our network, and we'd love to call on you.
Excellent. And Bruce, do you have thoughts on that question?
Sure. Yes, thanks, Jay. We've been working for over a decade with the VI. We really thank you for all the fly-ins and all the work that we're doing together with other industry partners, the ACC, American Chemistry Council, and what we found, though, is that it's been very challenging to move the needle federally as well as at the state level with respect to open competition. All we're asking for is a fair shot at using our materials and including them in the bids that are issued by utilities, municipal governments. Where the state and federal governments can impact that procurement is when there are when it's tripartite funding for these kinds of projects. So when a utility or a municipality accepts money from the federal and state governments, if the state government or federal government had open competition requirements in how that money is spent, and that would hopefully, well, that would increase the use of PVC. But it's been really challenging to get that done at the federal level or at any state government. But the pressure that we continue to apply, I believe, will lead to some changes in the future. And we know that there have been bills suggested a number of times over the years in Congress that throw in open competition. So maybe one day that will happen. In the meantime, we continue to work at the municipal level where we interact with the utilities. We identify projects which are excluding PVC, not in the sense of banning it, just not including the material. And we go and educate the marketplace on a one-on-one basis at the municipal level, and that's what we continue to do. But of course, it's always good to have pressure at all three levels of government, and we believe that with time, we could see some successes there.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time, both of you today. I know we have a couple of other questions, but we'll promise to follow up on those offline. So Kate, Bruce, again, thank you for your time and in updating us on your markets today. Ned, back to you.